I love arcades. At least I did when they weren't dying out and becoming a novelty due to home gaming. Some of my fondest memories of video gaming come from arcades. I loved doing the rail shooters. Confidential Mission, Aliens Extermination, Terminator Salvation, Time Crisis. But my favorite of the lot was House of the Dead. I love this game. I don't know how many times I played it, and all the sequels. I got it for PC, Sega Saturn, hell, recently I purchased the arcade machine itself. We're going to be looking at this on a later occasion as well, just as soon as I get it moved and put back together. My experiences date all the way back to when I was 3 or 4 years old. I don't exactly remember how old I was. It was at a bowling alley in Chicago on my cousin's birthday. I was unsupervised, of course, or rather dumped onto being watched by this other guy. I'm not sure what his relation to the family was, or if there was any at all. Friend, boyfriend of one of the family members, anyway. There was an arcade section, and he took me to the machine to play it. Now, this one was a bit different than mine. The one I remember had a white bottom and a blue top. And there were stools to sit on, or rather stand on in my case, since I was still so small, while playing the game. The funniest thing about this memory was that when I was handed the gun, I was given the instruction, shoot over there, by the other guy. Now, what he meant for me to do was cover one side of the screen while he did the other, but in my young brain, I thought he was pointing at the arcade machine next to me. It was a racing game, so before I realized what I was doing was wrong, I used up all of my lives and never slew a single creature. It wasn't until a few years later, when we moved to another state, that I got my chance to actually experience the game in all of its glory. I think the fact that I went out of my way to buy the arcade machine itself shows just how much I love House of the Dead. But what about the remake? Well, my friends, strangers, and enemies, that's what we're going to be checking out tonight. Here's House of the Dead Remake. Around 2020 or 2021, I heard whispers about this being a thing, but I was very skeptical of its legitimacy. The original House of the Dead has been left untouched for years, and it didn't seem like Sega really cared enough about it to port, let alone remake. I remember playing 2 and 3 Returns on the Nintendo Wii back in 2009, and I was extremely upset that they didn't include the original game. It honestly still irks me a little to this day, but apparently the reason for this is that the original code for the game was lost, and somehow that makes it unplayable. Look, I don't know coding, but that sounds like a cop-out to me. They did have another one that worked on the Sega Saturn and PC, and that could have been ported, but that one looks like this. Still, I'd take it. I mean, I wouldn't mind a graphical downgrade back then, just so I could experience the OG game. Hell, that's why I bought a Sega Saturn in the first place. It's better than nothing, that's all I'm saying. But how does this remake compare? Is it going to be a faithful and fun nostalgia trip, or will it be an unnecessary and cringe piece of inept mediocrity, like some other games I could mention? Let's find out. Okay, so the first thing that I noticed when starting the game isn't the graphics or the model design as the attract plays during the main menu, but rather the music. I guess it was unfair of me to assume that they would mimic the original soundtrack. It is a remake, after all. Maybe they will have some sort of DLC to change the soundtrack. You know, kinda like they did for Resident Evil 2 and 4. Oh. Okay, never mind. Maybe I should repurchase this on PC and mod it to something easier on the ears. Now, I don't want to trash the soundtrack as a whole. There are some tracks that I like. They aren't great, but they aren't awful either. This menu music is pretty catchy, and this track for Tragedy isn't half bad either. It still doesn't hold the candle to the original game, though.
They're inside! Help them!
Also, I would recommend that you either play this game on the Nintendo Switch or on the PC if you plan to get it. The Xbox version doesn't have any type of light gun support, and while I can't speak for the PS5 version, I'm going to assume that it functions about the same. PC mechanics are pretty straightforward, just point and shoot, and the Switch version makes use of its gyro function to mimic light gun support. They even have a gun accessory that you can buy to make handling them a little less awkward. I've heard a few people say that it's a little awkward to handle, but I honestly like it. Not too bad. So, after a main menu screen that mimics that of the original, the game starts normal. AMS agent Thomas Rogan is speeding to the Curian estate in this very vintage-looking car and... Huh. I guess we're ripping off Alone in the Dark now. Nothing like violence against harmless amphibians, right? So Rogan steps out onto the estate grounds and finds this creature munching on a researcher. Wait, hold on. Who are you? You are not Neil. No, this isn't one of my dumb jokes. This thing is literally named Neil. Some of the other creatures we'll run into are also called Cyril, Sam, Samson, Bentley, Bourbon, Drake, and... Hey, that doesn't look anything like me. Okay, there's your dumb joke. For the most part, these creatures look similar to their OG counterparts, except for Neil. Maybe this is just childish or stupid of me to gripe about this, but when I first played the original House of the Dead and saw this guy make the scene, I was starstruck. The black-collared V-neck, which my child brain mistook for a tuxedo, his bloodied face coupled with the pale turquoise skin, it's gorgeous. This guy? Too much green and brown. Oh, hang on, I forgot to turn on the gyro function. Let me fix that. So, you make your way onward to the mansion, dispatching monsters along the way, when you come across a familiar face.
Sophie?
Rogan's fiancée, Sophie Richards, employed by Kieran for some time before the 1998 incident. Wait, why are you surprised to see her here? She's the one who called you for help.
Please, help! Everyone is getting killed!
Oh, reload!
Rogan! It's you!
Why are you acting shocked to see him? You called him! Anyway, Sophie gets captured by this big bat bastard and is taken away. So we slay some more monsters and try to save as many researchers as we can along the way.
Reload! Reload!
Emphasis on try. Huh? A flashlight? Okay, what's the point of having this toggle function for a flashlight? There was this one area in House of the Dead 2 that did give you such a feature in a Coliseum area, and that made sense to an extent. It was a darker area, so by all means, go ahead and make an automatic toggle for this game for its darker areas too. But making this an actual function on the controller, that's just dumb. What I was trying to do was swap to one of the different weapons I unlocked. Yes, you get more than just a handgun in this version, but apparently you still need to use the other Joy-Con to cycle them. Maybe the controls change when you play on co-op. Hang on. Okay, I'm not going to include footage of me experimenting with multiplayer mode in this review. It would just be embarrassing seeing me fumble around with this shit. Moving on. Oh shit, it's the Crypt Keeper. I wasn't expecting to see you here. Too bad I have to kill you now. What the fuck? Okay, headshots are ineffective. Let's shoot him in his non-existing dick. Well, that did it. I've seen people complaining about these bats in the past and about how they're a pain to contend with. I personally never had any issue with them in the original game, but those of you who had will probably be pleasantly surprised knowing that they are much more sluggish and you can take them out before they even start flying at you in this game. Oh shit! Oh, good. This always gets me. Every time I see this guy trip, I think I accidentally shot him. So I get a health pack for my trouble. You can find these things in boxes around the game, or you can get them by saving some researchers. Also, you may have noticed the low revving in the background. Yep, there's Samson. Remember in the original game how you would be going through the mansion and then suddenly... No advanced warning of things to come? I think this idle revving was intended to be suspenseful, but the original was much more effective with the oh shit factor of suddenly seeing this big bastard rushing you with the chainsaw. Okay, and now we're ripping off Resident Evil Zero's Eliminator design. I guess that's poetic though, since Resident Evil Zero ripped their monkey enemies off of the original House of the Dead initially. These updated designs look much closer to the Eliminators though. Anyway, you shoot more creatures, including these beefed up zombies.
Mutants, how many times do I have to tell you not to use the Z word?
Worms with teeth, some infected frogs, the Wreck-It Ralph zombie throwing hatchets at you. Nearly let this girl die. Oh yeah, if you break some of the boxes in the environment, you can also collect more points by shooting these golden frogs or coins. Then you reach captured Sophie.
Sophie, are you okay?
I was so scared.
And here's the first boss. Time to take out the chariot without any trouble at all. Okay, very minimal and inconsequential trouble. Chariot goes down and Rogan rushes to Sophie's side.
Sophie!
You must stop, Kyrian, or else something terrible will happen.
Sophie!
She'll live, don't worry. Okay, so chapter 2 begins and we continue through the mansion, blasting down more creatures. Some of them are trying to throw oil drums at you now. These Freddy Krueger and Jack the Ripper midgets are hopping around tossing knives and scratching at you with clawed gloves. Oh damn, I didn't know that was a path you could take in the game. I never let these guys get close enough. Hell, it took me until just this year to realize that you can take this path in the original game. What else am I going to learn about this game that I don't already know? You know what, let's switch up to a different weapon. Spice up the gameplay a bit. Whoops. Okay, maybe I should have switched back to the handgun. Hey look, you can do some damage to the test tubes as well. Also, this guy just clipped into existence. We save a few more researchers and head up to the roof where we are taunted by this bastard again. And since he's very vampire-like, I'm gonna use the crossbow. Wow! Okay, I know this thing is supposed to be extremely effective against bosses, but I can't tell if that's the game's difficulty being a factor as well. I switched to the pitter because, you know, wooden stakes and vampires, and down goes the hanged man. On to the next level. Third chapter Truth introduces these new beefed-up monsters, swinging these oversized flails around, and ow! I was not expecting that either. I'm used to these guys just smashing the window and winding up for a second attack. I didn't think that would come right at me from the get-go. You also have these cyborgs to contend with as well, and if it wasn't obvious, you shoot this red power supply and then they go down. I don't think these guys here are so much cyborgs as they are just variants of the beefed-up bastards with armor plating drilled pressed into their flesh. Also, those parts are bulletproof. Anyone arachnophobic? Then these next enemies aren't going to be for you. And the boss won't be either when we get to it. Then there are also these masked versions of Bentley who carry around blowtorches. I was always under the impression that these were some kind of plasma swords in the original. Again, my young brain at the time. Then we confront Kyrian.
Kyrian!
I must compliment you. I didn't think you could make it this far. However, this is it. Let's see how good you really are.
He flees the scene, and then we have to deal with this spider crab thing. This is probably the most annoying boss in the game. The hermit will shit webbing at you and advance while covering its face, only to reveal its weak point once it's close enough to attack. But I'm aware of its tricks, so it's of little consequence. Also, in the original, you can cheese this boss for extra points. Even in its dying state, you will receive points for shooting it in the head. This is not the case in the remake, though. Oh well. Then, on to the last chapter.
I'll get you, Kyrian!
You dispatch a few of the more obnoxious enemies as you descend into Kyrian's laboratory, and you get revisited by two of the game's earlier bosses. And if they weren't so easy to contend with, this may have had some element of surprise. Maybe it did have that effect on newer players, I can't say for sure, but I would dread having to deal with the Hermit again over these two. Not because of the challenge, mind you, but, again, annoying boss. So you slay the remaining monsters and confront Kyrian for one last time, where he introduces you to his
I will
masterpiece.
respect your consistency, but you will never, ever defeat me. Say hello to my masterpiece.
Alright, so I haven't talked about the voice acting during this review, but you may have noticed that it isn't exactly top tier. This is done completely intentionally, though. For the nostalgia of returning fans, no doubt.
I must admit, I really respect your consistency. But you will never, ever defeat me! Say hello to my masterpiece!
Say hello to my masterpiece!
Ooh boy, I'm excited now.
Who are you? Nobody gives me instructions. I shall destroy everything.
What happened? Why don't you follow my instructions?
And now I am already let down. Okay, something else I didn't touch on, at least since the beginning of the review, was the music. You may recall that I said that I enjoyed 2 of the tracks while the others were kinda meh. But this track here, this theme of the Magician, no. Just no.
Look how they massacred my boy.
I would say that this theme doesn't hold a candle to the original, but that would be generous. This doesn't hold a burned-out matchstick to Tetsuya Kawauchi's score. Don't believe me? Just listen to this. Also, this Magician is a joke. You newbies don't know the struggle that us OG players had back in the day with this son of a bitch. He would teleport all over the place at lightning-fast speed, disorienting you and throwing off your aim. And we didn't have the luxury of a crosshair either. Or maybe there is an option. I haven't messed around with the settings on my machine beyond just changing blood color. But anyway, this Magician? He just lazily lists around the screen while leaving an energy trail behind him. And you can keep up with him easy, and can reacquire targeting on the fly. Also, with this machine gun and just relying on a button click to reload... Ugh. I guess they tried to balance this out by giving the Magician much more health than the others, making the fight last longer. But still, again, just... Ugh. Anyway, the Magician goes down and Rogan says his goodbyes to Kieran and Sophie before departing the mansion.
Farewell, Sophie.
Okay, now to input our name on the leaderboard. I'm one of those weird people who likes to name their save files after the characters he plays, so I input the name Thomas because that's Rogan's first name, and... What? In what fucking language is fucking Thomas a fucking swear word? What the fucking fuck? Okay then, let's just try Rogan. Okay, that's fine, I guess. Whatever, on to the credits. And they just have snapshots of different mansion locations instead of having us backtrack. Guess now that the place is void of walking corpses and infected animals, you could do a little sightseeing. So the credits roll to the end, and we get thanked by... Bobaboo? Are you behind this? Oh yeah, and then there's one more cutscene. See, I told you she would be alive. Well, kinda. She's not completely dead, anyway. Well, guess I'll just have to try the next time for a better ending. Yeah, depending on your score, you could get one of 3 endings. Bad ending sees this girl come back as a walking corpse. Good ending sees her running out the mansion alive and well. And the mid ending just cuts to an end screen. So, aside from the main game, we get a few other features, like a gallery of the enemies we encountered, and a dossier on them, also showing their different weaknesses. kinda cool that these different creatures have different vulnerabilities instead of you just having to shoot them all in the head. You also get to check out the different weapons you've unlocked, and some info on them. Wow, who would have thought that the AMS would be so unprofessional? You also get to unlock different badges that serve as achievements and offer you incentive for more replayability. If you care about that anyway. I'm more of a tangible reward kind of guy, so if these don't have any gameplay effects like extra weapons or game modes, I honestly don't care enough to try. Speaking of other game modes, let's wrap this up by checking out Horde mode. With a name like that, I'm assuming this is just going to up the enemy count, and Jesus Christ! I don't know what I was expecting here, but I certainly didn't think they would bombard you with that many enemies right off the bat. Well, that was fun, but I think I should start wrapping things up here. I will say that this is a pretty faithful recreation of the original game and has quite a few decent quality of life upgrades. It does offer some more replayability and ease of access, but when all is said and done, I think I prefer the original game. Much like Resident Evil 4, if I'm craving some hot D, I am going to spend my time playing the original much more than I will the remake. You know, there are a lot of OG fans out there who would take it raw up the ass just to have the original game ported to modern hardware these days. I wouldn't go that far myself, mainly since I have this, and even if I didn't, I would be content with the PC or Saturn version. The day someone offers to make a modern port of Maze on, though, I'm spreading it wide and risking a fucking prolapse. Hand to God.